In the dim light of the meditation room, Anna whispered in thought, "If true love exists, why does it always leave?" She had been there for nearly an hour, sitting in the same position, legs crossed, eyes half closed. But it wasn't the incense or the sound of the flute in the background that kept her there. It was the anger. The silence of that room seemed to be the only place where she could hate in peace. Hate the promise that was never kept. Hate the man she had met at the retreat, who now felt like a stranger. Hate the universe, which seemed to toy with her prayers. She didn't want to believe anymore. And yet, she couldn't stop asking, as if there was still a spark inside her, a burning question deep in her chest. What if the love we long for is the very one we forget to search for within ourselves? This story begins with Anna, unpacking the remains of a relationship that ended without warning, without care, without reason. She spent weeks trying to understand, trying not to feel. But the pain lingered, spread through her body like a slow fever. Until one random Sunday she opened her browser and typed, "Silent Spiritual Retreat." She signed up without thinking, or maybe thinking too much. All she wanted was a place where she could mute the world. She arrived with lowered eyes and a bruised soul. The space was simple. Wooden floors, light meals, no technology. Just her, the silence, and the echo of herself. In the first days, she cried during meditation, sometimes quietly, sometimes from the inside. But there was something about that place that kept her returning to the mat. She began walking barefoot, writing letters she would never send, breathing deeper, even without knowing why. She took a vow of silence for 3 days. During that time, she observed every detail around her. The leaves drifting slowly in the courtyard, the whistle of the kettle in the early morning, the scent of lemongrass in the practice room. There was something comforting about perceiving the world without needing to be perceived back. It was on the 3rd night that she saw him. John. He helped in the kitchen, smiled with his eyes, and carried a silence that didn't feel heavy. In the sharing circles he spoke little, but listened with his whole being. When she first opened up about the end of her relationship, he didn't say a word. He simply held her hand gently, as one holds a question with no hurry for an answer. In the following days, they started practicing together, walking silently through the garden, exchanging glances while preparing meals, sitting side by side during long meditations. There were no promises, but there was a presence between them. A love that seemed to bloom without needing a name. One afternoon, they shared Rumi's poems. He read softly, as if the air itself didn't want to be disturbed. She, eyes closed, felt each word touch something that had always been inside her, but never had a name. One morning, during a mindfulness practice, he whispered, "Thank you for being here. You make me feel peace." And she believed it, because she felt the same. On the second to last night, they chanted mantras with their eyes closed around the fire. When they opened them, they were in each other's arms. It was as if everything around them had disappeared, except the two of them. Later, they walked hand in hand through the fields, in silence. Their palms were sweaty, but neither wanted to let go. That night, Anna made a wish to the universe. If this is love, may it be like this, calm, clear, alive. And the universe, in that moment, seemed to whisper yes. When they returned to the city, they messaged for hours. They shared photos of places they went, music they listened to, passages from books they read. They started seeing each other on weekends, then during the week too. He made her cardamom coffee. She cooked ginger soup when he said he felt tired. They went to farmers' markets together, took yoga classes, spent quiet afternoons lying on the living room floor, just listening to each other's breath. Slowly, Anna began to believe that love like this could exist outside the retreat, and each new act of care seemed to confirm it. He said he had never felt so seen. She said she had never felt so at peace. Then came the first delays, the first unanswered texts, a discomfort Anna felt but couldn't name. Once, she casually mentioned visiting a coworker, excited about reconnecting after months apart. He replied with a crooked smile, his eyes sideways. "You trust people too much. One day you're going to get hurt." Anna tried to understand what he meant. She gave a small laugh and said it was just coffee, but the phrase echoed in her mind. That night, she hesitated before messaging her friend, as if betraying something she couldn't quite explain. Days later, she spoke excitedly about a new writing project she was developing. Her eyes sparkled. Her hands followed the rhythm of her words. John listened silently, then interrupted. "You dream too much. You should execute first. You're not special just because you dream." That wasn't a question. It was a cut. She laughed, tried to take it lightly, but something inside her shrank. She began choosing her words more carefully, avoided sharing certain things, measured her own enthusiasm. Maybe he was right. Maybe she was too intense. Maybe love was that, adjusting, holding back, adapting. But part of her had already begun to disappear. Until one quiet evening, returning from a silent dinner, she brought up the discomfort. Spoke gently. "I feel like we're drifting apart." John stopped walking, took his time to answer. Then, with a cold voice, "We're forcing something that doesn't exist anymore." She frowned, trying to understand what he truly meant. "What do you mean?" "We've been through so much together, John." He sighed, looking away. "The retreat was different. We were in a separate world. No rush, no pressure. I connected with you there, truly. But out here, things change. I don't feel it's working. Not in the same way." She tried to reason with him, her voice soft. "But we've built things out here too. The walks, the conversations, the silences. That's real too." "Maybe," he said. "But I don't see it as positive anymore. It feels like we're always dealing with friction." The lightness is gone. He didn't wait for a reply, just shrugged and kept walking. That night, Anna came home still processing the conversation. She made tea, tried rereading her favorite passages from their book, but nothing brought peace. 2 hours later, her phone buzzed. "Better we go our separate ways. Wishing you the best." Nothing else. She read and reread, looking for an explanation where only a period existed. And once again, she felt like the universe had given up on her. That same night, lying on the cold floor of her bedroom, Anna tried to remember what she had asked for. She recalled the fire, the hands held together, the whispered prayer to the sky. "If this is love, may it be calm, clear, alive." She had asked the universe for true love. And now, where was it? Why, when asking for light, did all she received feel like absence? For days, Anna avoided the world, ignored messages, left her mother unanswered, skipped work. She went to bed late, ate little, let the shower run for long minutes, just to hear a sound other than her own thoughts. She meditated again, not out of faith, but out of desperation. closed her eyes like someone screaming inward, cried in silence, laughed in anger. Some days, she felt her own existence turning transparent. She didn't understand. If the universe hadn't hurt her, then who had? Or worse, what if it had hurt her exactly? And this was the answer. She stared into nothing and asked, "Was this it? Is this what I deserved for asking for love?" She had no answer, but the question remained. And maybe it was that question, bitter as it was, that held the beginning of another path. Could she love without expecting it back? Let's find out. But first, if this story is making sense to you, if it resonated with you in any way, subscribe to the channel so we can keep telling stories like this. And before we continue, leave your like. Thank you for your support. In the days that followed, Anna didn't want anything anymore. Nothing made sense. Not the books she loved, not the songs that once wrapped around her silences. Time slipped through her fingers, and she couldn't even tell weekday from weekend. Her body dragged on. Her soul no longer asked for help. She began doubting even her own intuition, her own presence. One day, still in pajamas at 5 in the afternoon, she saw a notification, a message in the group from the last retreat. It was an invitation for a new edition. Days of silence, sharing, nature. John was still in the group. She felt a tightening in her chest, a kind of emotional nausea, and without thinking, she left. Minutes later, a private message came. It was from Daniel, one of the friends she made during the retreat. "Anna, why'd you leave the group? Is everything okay?" She read it. Didn't answer. 2 days passed. Then, on a random Tuesday morning, there was a knock at the door. 2 friends from the retreat, Daniel and Claire, were there. They brought nothing but their presence, and a gaze full of care. "We missed your energy. We came to remind you of something you've forgotten," Claire said, her voice soft but steady. Anna thanked them, a little embarrassed by the state of the house, the smell of the pajamas she'd been wearing for 2 days. She ran her hand through her messy hair and tried to smile. "Thank you for remembering, but I'm not going to the retreat. Not now." Daniel glanced at Claire and replied, "That's okay. Then the retreat comes to you." And that Saturday, without asking for too much permission, they organized a mini retreat in her home. Claire brought colorful cushions and incense. Daniel arrived early with fruit, nuts, cloths to cover the furniture. A friend Anna barely remembered showed up with calming teas and a small drum. In the living room, they lit candles. In the bedroom, they left a note with a mantra. "You are your own home." They practiced breathwork together, then meditated in silence for 20 minutes. No one told her how to feel. No one tried to fix her. They were just there. At lunch, they sat in a circle on the floor, laughed quietly, talked about nothing. And it was that nothing that, for the first time in a long while, made Anna feel that maybe something in her was still alive. When the last friend left, Daniel handed her a small folded note with just a few handwritten words. "Keep asking for love. Just change the direction." This time, Anna cried, but not from pain. She cried because even in pieces, something in her still felt whole enough to be loved. In the days that followed, she returned to meditating. Without noise. Without grand expectations, sometimes for 2 minutes, sometimes for 30. Sometimes she just sat and breathed. She started walking through the neighborhood again, tended to her plants, made soup for herself, not out of sadness, but care. She returned to the retreat, this time as a volunteer, greeted participants with a calm smile, arranged the mats, prepared the teas. And the most curious part, people liked being near her. They said her presence soothed them. That hearing her voice made them want to return to themselves. She didn't try to be that. She just was. And that's when she understood. The love she had asked the universe for wasn't lost. It just needed to be born from within. And when that happened, when she loved herself without hurry, without condition, without spectacle, everything around her seemed to realign. Family, work, friends, everything breathed easier. She still meditated every day, and still asked for love. But now, like this, may I never abandon myself again. May I always carry love within me,